You know that person who is always at the top of your story views, but has yet to reply to your message in 3 months? Yeah, we need to talk about them, because I'm about to tell you something that's going to change how you see social media forever. That person isn't just busy. They're not just forgetting to reply. What they're doing is actually a calculated psychological behavior. And once you understand it, you'll realize you've probably been doing it to someone else too. So here's what's really happening. That person watching your stories, but ignoring your messages. They're getting something from you without having to give anything back. And there's actual science behind why they do this and why it works. Let me tell you about my friend Jake. Jake had this girl he'd been talking to for months. Every single story he posted, she was in the top 3 viewers. Every single time. His gym selfies, his food pics, his random 2 a.m. thoughts, she watched all of it. But when he'd message her to make plans or just chat, nothing. Read receipts on. Message seen. No response. This went on for 6 months. 6 months of him going insane, trying to figure out what was happening. Was she interested? Was she playing games? Did she hate him? But then why was she watching everything he posted? And here's what finally made it click for him. One day he posted a story about going on a date with someone else. Within 10 minutes, guess who slid into his DMs? Yeah, that girl. Suddenly, she had plenty to say. That's when Jake realized what was actually going on. And it's the same thing that's probably happening to you right now. These people are keeping you on the hook. They're maintaining access to your life without having to invest anything into it. And the craziest part, most of them don't even realize they're doing it. Let me break down what's actually happening in their brain when they do this. First, there's something called passive consumption. When someone watches your story, their brain gets a little hit of dopamine. They feel connected to you. They feel like they know what's going on in your life. They get all the benefits of friendship without any of the work. Responding to your message, that requires effort. That requires them to think about what to say, how to say it, whether they sound interested enough or too interested. That requires emotional labor. And here is the thing nobody wants to admit. Most people are lazy when it comes to relationships. Watching your story takes 3 seconds and 0 brain power. Responding to your message might turn into a whole conversation. It might lead to making plans they'll have to keep. It might lead to vulnerability they're not ready for. So, they take the easy route. They consume your content like you're a Netflix show, and they ignore your messages like you're a telemarketer. But here's where it gets darker. A psychologist I came across online explains something called parasocial relationships. This usually describes how fans relate to celebrities, but it's happening in regular friendships now too. Someone can feel deeply connected to you by watching your content, but that connection only goes one way. They know what you're doing, where you're going, who you're with, how you're feeling, but you don't get any of that back. It's a one-sided relationship where they have all the information and all the power. And some people really like that dynamic. They like being the observer. They like knowing about your life without you knowing about theirs. It makes them feel in control. Now, let me tell you something that's going to make you uncomfortable. Sometimes people watch your content specifically because they don't want to talk to you. I know that sounds contradictory, but stay with me. My coworker Maria had an ex who did this. They broke up. He said he needed space, blocked her on everything. 2 months later, she noticed he was watching her stories from a fake account. Every single story. But when she confronted him about it, he blocked that account too and made another one. This guy didn't want to be with her. He didn't want to talk to her, but he absolutely needed to know what she was doing. That's not interest. That's surveillance. And before you think that's rare, think about how many people you keep tabs on that you have no intention of ever talking to again. Your ex, your former best friend, that girl from high school who you kind of hated but also kind of want to see if she got fat. We all do this. Social media has turned all of us into little spies, watching each other's lives without participating in them. But here's the part that's going to make you mad. Sometimes this behavior is about power, about keeping you wondering, about making sure you're still thinking about them without them having to think about you. There's this thing called breadcrumbing. It is When someone gives you just enough attention to keep you interested, but never enough to actually build anything. Liking your posts, but not commenting. Watching your stories, but not replying to messages. Reacting to your content, but never initiating conversation. They're leaving breadcrumbs, little signs that they're still around, still aware of you, still maybe interested, but they never give you enough to actually go anywhere with it. And you know what the worst part is? It works. Because you're still thinking about them. You're still checking if they viewed your story. You're still wondering what it means. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you posted a story and then immediately checked who viewed it? And when you saw that specific person's name at the top, how did it make you feel? That little hit of validation you got, that's what they're controlling. They're giving you just enough to keep you hooked while investing absolutely nothing themselves. Now here's what most people don't understand about this behavior. A lot of times, it's not even intentional. It's not some master manipulation. It is just that we've all become so overwhelmed by digital communication that we've started treating people like content. Think about how you use social media. You're probably scrolling mindlessly half the time. Stories pop up. You tap through them. It's muscle memory. You're not actively deciding to watch someone's story most of the time. It's just what your thumb does while you're sitting on the toilet or waiting in line. But responding to a message that requires you to be present, to be intentional, to actually engage your brain. And most people are operating on such low battery mentally and emotionally that they just do want to have it in them. I read something recently that said the average person receives over 200 notifications per day. 200 times a day, someone or something is demanding your attention. Your brain literally cannot handle that amount of input. So what do people do? They create invisible hierarchies. They decide subconsciously who deserves a response and who doesn't. And if you're not making the cut, it's not necessarily because they don't care about you. It's because they're in survival mode, trying to manage an impossible amount of social obligations. Your message got lost in the noise, but your story popped up right in front of their face while they were already scrolling. Here's something else that's happening that nobody talks about. Social anxiety has exploded in the last few years, especially around digital communication. And I'm not just talking about people with diagnosed anxiety disorders. I'm talking about regular people who get stressed out about responding to messages. They start overthinking everything. What if I say the wrong thing? What if they misread my tone? What if I take too long to respond and they think I'm ignoring them? But if I respond too fast, they think I'm desperate. This internal spiral is exhausting. So you know what's easier, just not responding at all. But watching your story doesn't trigger any of that anxiety. There's no performance pressure. They're not on stage. They're in the audience. They can observe without fear of judgment or misunderstanding. Let me tell you about something that happened to me last year. I had this friend from college who had stayed in touch with online. We'd message maybe once every few months, just checking in, sharing memes. Typical friend stuff. Then one day I noticed she was watching all my stories but hadn't responded to my last 3 messages. So I did something most people are too scared to do. I asked her directly. I sent her a voice message and said, "Hey, I noticed we don't really talk anymore, but you still watch my stories. What's up with that? If you're not interested in staying friends, that's cool, but I'm confused about what's going on." You know what she said? She told me that she'd been going through really bad depression for the past year. She barely had energy to get out of bed most days. Responding to messages felt like climbing a mountain because she'd have to explain what was going on with her. And she wasn't ready to do that. But she still cared about me and wanted to know how I was doing. So she watched my stories. That conversation completely changed how I thought about this behavior. Sometimes it's not about you at all. Sometimes people are just drowning, and engaging in actual conversation is more than they can handle. But passively keeping up with your life is something they can manage. Now, I'm not saying that excuses everyone who does this. Some people are absolutely just being rude or playing games. But I am saying it's more complicated than it looks from the outside. Here's what you need to understand though. Regardless of the reason, you have to decide how much energy you're willing to give to someone who is not giving it back. The psychology behind their behavior is interesting. Understanding it can help you not take it personally, but understanding it doesn't mean you have to accept it. If someone consistently watches all your content, but never responds to your messages, especially after you've tried multiple times to reach out, that's telling you something important. They might have their reasons, but those reasons mean they're not prioritizing you. And you deserve people in your life who prioritize you. Here's what I want you to do. Stop checking who viewed your stories. I'm serious. Every time you post a story and then immediately go check the viewer list, you're giving power to people who aren't earning it. That person at the top of your viewers list, they didn't do anything to deserve your mental energy. They opened Instagram and your story was there. That's Italiano. That doesn't mean they miss you. Doesn't mean they're thinking about you. Doesn't mean anything except that they were on the app. The more you obsess over who's watching your content without responding, the more insane you're going to drive yourself. Let me give you some real advice on how to handle this situation. First, stop reaching out to people who don't respond. I don't care if they watch every story. I don't care if they like all your posts. If they're not responding to your direct messages, stop messaging them. You're not going to convince someone to care by trying harder. Second, pay attention to patterns over time. 1 unreturned message doesn't mean anything. 10 unreturned messages while they continue to watch your content. That's a pattern. Patterns tell you everything you need to know. Third, focus your energy on people who reciprocate. There are people in your life right now who do respond to your messages, who do want to talk to you, who do make an effort. Give your attention to them instead of wasting it on people who clearly you aren't interested in actual conversation. And fourth, if it's someone you genuinely care about, have a direct conversation. Not in an accusatory way, but in an honest way. Say something like, "I've noticed we don't really talk anymore, but you still keep up with my posts. I'm curious, what's going on?" That opens the door for them to be honest without making it a confrontation. Maybe they'll tell you they've been going through something. Maybe they'll admit they've been distant. Maybe they'll tell you they're not interested in staying close. Whatever the answer is, at least you'll know. But here's the real truth about all of this. Social media has created this weird space where people can be present in your life without actually being present. They can keep up with you without keeping in touch. They can observe without participating. And we're all still trying to figure out what that means for our relationships. The person who watches your stories but doesn't respond might be dealing with anxiety. They might be protecting their energy. They might be avoiding something. They might be playing games. They might just be mindlessly scrolling. But whatever the reason is, it doesn't change what you need to do. You need to stop giving so much meaning to social media behavior. Someone watching your story doesn't mean anything unless it is backed up by actual effort and actual conversation. Do you want to let digital breadcrumbs distract you from building real connections with people who actually show up for you? And if you're the person who does this to others, maybe take a second to think about why. Are you avoiding something? Are you playing games? Are you just not that interested? Whatever it is. Be honest with yourself about it. Because here's what social media has made us forget. Relationships require effort. Real connection requires showing up. And watching someone's Instagram story is not showing up. The people who want to be in your life will make an effort. They'll respond to your messages. They'll initiate conversations. They'll do more than just passively consume your content. Everything else is just noise. So stop letting social media mess with your head. Stop checking who viewed your stories. Stop analyzing why someone watches your content but won't talk to you. Stop giving power to people who aren't earning it. Your value isn't determined by who watches your stories. It's not determined by who responds to your messages. It's not determined by any of this digital nonsense. Focus on the people who reciprocate. Let go of the people who don't. And stop reading so much into behavior that probably doesn't mean what you think it means anyway. Because at the end of the day, if someone wants to talk to you, they will. If they're not talking to you, they don't want to. The story views don't change that. Subscribe if you needed to hear this.